nature of your emergency.
Not just the morning together, but our coffee together. So cheers to you.
Yes, cheers. You see my mug. My family knows me.
I drink coffee for protection. Yeah, I think most people here could definitely agree with that. Clint bought this mug, and it said something like I roll on accident or something. And I didn't even know that he picked it up. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And he's like, it's your new mug. So sweet of you.
Love it.
You're talking about Florida, and I actually, I just got back from Florida not too long ago. And while I was there, I just completely lost my thought. I don't know why I was talking. And you were saying that you were on hold with Florida. And I don't know why, if it's like California where everybody just kind of has this like laid back persona. And, you know, that's why.
Depends on where you are. Like where I am in Polk County, everybody's normal.
Normal?
Yeah, everybody's normal. Everybody looks out for each other's house when they go on vacation and so on and so on. You get up in Orlando or other parts where it's more of a melting pot and homeowners associations rule the day. You know, they write letters because Bob left his trash can out too long instead of just helping Bob bring his trash can in.
Poor Bob, man. Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, and I'm very excited this morning, not only because I'm not spending it by myself, not only because we have a pretty awesome giveaway and also an IOU giveaway since our last interview got sick and we had to postpone that one, but also because this morning's guest is somebody who has a strong appreciation for the sacrifices made to protect our freedom. And with all of the baloney that takes place, especially on the left side, I think that is something that is incredibly worthy of being able to speak on. And I'm really excited because you're somebody who also works with horses. And we so happen to have a mounted unit horse at our house. And I'm excited to learn about some of the work that you do with them and how we can get involved. So this morning's guest name is JR Smith. How are you?
Doing great. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. So your dad was a veteran. I correct that. And I want to know a little bit about your background before we dive into what you do, what your program is, and how people can get involved in it. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I was the deemed country boy that grew up in the county. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and good, you know, let's go Cards, let's go Blues. And we had always had a great time, always going out deer hunting, always going out on Boy Scout trips, and you name it. I always felt more comfortable out in the woods than I did, in the concrete jungle. I love where I grew up and I loved my life, but I always knew, I live by the Daniel Boone theory of if I can see the smoke from my neighbor's chimney, he's too close and it's time to move, which means I like to be out there a little bit. So I actually moved to Florida in 1999, met my lovely wife now of 22 years. I heard native Floridians were hard to come by. So when I found one I liked, I snatched her up. But her whole family was originally from Kentucky. And they, so horses run her blood. She had a pony when she was a kid. I couldn't stay away from a horse when I was a kid. You know, if we were out on a trip and somebody didn't want to go for a ride, I'd take an extra ride and go on their horse. So, you know, horses were always in our blood. Country Western way of life is always been who we are. And so that just led us to, you know, a very short synopsis there of where we are here today.
That's amazing. Good morning, everybody. And if you're just tuning in, we are doing a giveaway. So whoever comments the most on this thread and the one that we had posted for the promo, I'm going to send you 2 snack boxes. And if you don't want them both, or you don't want one or either one, then I can send one to you and one to somebody else that you choose. So go ahead and start commenting, ask questions. If I don't get to them here on the live, then I will definitely tag JR and we'll try to get to that. And something really awesome, JR, is that a lot of the questions that I have for you today are ones that were from the comments. So we have some really good ones that I couldn't have even come up with on my own. And before we get to those, thank you. I bedazzled this hat on my own. I appreciate that. How did you get into doing what you're doing now, and what is your organization all about?
Absolutely. We My dad always taught me to keep a legal pad by the bed in case you get an idea in the middle of the night. And I've had a lot of legal pads that went a lot of nowhere. And this one, it definitely has gone somewhere. We were looking for a way to do something. Not only is my dad a Navy vet, my uncle's a Navy vet. My grandfather was Big Red 1 in World War II. My wife's dad was Army 55, 57. And when I graduated high school in 91, a couple of my buddies went straight to the sandboxes, MPs, and the Corps, right out of high school. So that deep appreciation for military, the sacrifices they make, their families make, and everything is just huge. Okay. Very, very deep in both of us. So about 3:00 in the morning, October of 2017, I roll over, I scribble the word ranch on a legal. I still have the legal pad. It's the only word on the entire legal pad. I almost couldn't read my chicken scratch the next morning. I had no idea what it meant. Again, my wife and I wanted a couple of horses, our little slice of Americana, and just, ride off into the sunset, right? Well, a couple of weeks later, as you see, we are a faith-based organization, although I'll be the first one to say I am like the Charlie Daniels song that says, one minute I kneel down and pray, the next I stand and curse. One perfect man to walk the earth in 2,000 years. It sure wasn't this guy. So, we're going to Chili's for lunch because we're on our way to Bass Pro Shops, and I am that guy you can drop off at open and pick up at close. And so we stop, and my wife knows when the smoke's coming out the ears and the wheels are turning, right? I asked her for a pen. About 20 Chili's napkins later, the idea for the Veterans Ranch was born. I got with my family attorney, and he referred me to somebody who set up nonprofits. When things are right, I fixed their car. They had a classic car. I'm kind of decent at turning wrenches. Growing up where I grew up in Missouri, a lot of blue collar muscle car guys. I mean, I literally grew up 20 minutes away from the Ford, Chevy, Corvette, and Chrysler plant. So I can turn a wrench. So I fixed their 76 Corvette. They set up our nonprofit. We traded out the work. So by December of 17, we're official. Yay, we're a nonprofit. So a lot on the job training, right out of the pan, into the fire. And, our whole mission that we knew we wanted to start off with is we were sick and tired of being sick and tired of watching our government not take care of our veterans. Watch the VA through my father-in-law, deny till you die. Here's another pill. Oh, no, you're too young. Oh, now you're too old. We can't do anything for you. We can't fix all of those problems on our own, but we can do a whole lot through God's majestic animal, the horse, to make their lives better, lay down heavy coats of burden, and walk off a new and improved version of themselves. That is our overall mission. And again, do it through such an amazing animal that is so intuitive. Like I say in my lines all the time, it can feel a gnat land on its back. I mean, it knows everything about you 2 feet away. The fact you have a horse, I'm preaching to the choir to you. You know exactly, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's amazing. What if I just say hey 1,000 times? Does that count? Obviously in a different accent and tone each time. Sure. Good morning, everybody who's just tuning in. Where is the Veterans Ranch, JR?
So we are corporately based in Lakeland, Florida. That is halfway between Disney World and Tampa. Don't hold Disney against me. We're close, but we aren't friends. So that's where we're based. We actually run this out of our house. This is my family room. It's not a fancy green screen backdrop. What does that mean? We run it out of our house. It means right now, going on 4 and some odd years, almost 5 years. We use other people's horses, other people's facilities to do everything it is we do. So we are trying to grow and expand. We were making some great headway and momentum. Then here came that thing we all know called 2020. And, it took everybody a few steps back. So we are also registered in the great state of Texas and soon to be Missouri. So if anybody out there, has some good acreage, not floodplain kind of stuff that they want to donate to the Veterans Ranch, they can definitely reach out to us because we are trying to get more done on a daily basis, like what needs to be done.
I've got a nonprofit I work with using equine therapy for vets. Maybe a good match. Yeah, I'll definitely link the two of you up. They also have software to manage the records for the herd, fighting the VA now. JR is the man. Great work sharing about the power of horses for people. And I have to tell you, I got the chills when you said that you woke up and you have a notepad next to your bed and you simply wrote down the word ranch, and it was not legible, but that you leaned into that. it took me a really long time to be able to lean into my higher power and to be able to listen to those messages. And it sounds like you had the elbow to the side over and over, and you took advantage of that and really dove into it, which I think is a beautiful thing and something worth pointing out. So that is amazing. And let's get down to the brass tacks of how this actually works. So let's say that we have somebody who's listening right now on the live, or we have somebody who's going to watch this on Facebook or listen to it on the Tactical Living podcast, and they want to learn more about horses. Maybe they've never ridden a horse before even, but they want to know what that connection is, that spiritual connection between horse and man that you're talking about. What does that process look like?
Well, obviously, you're going to get a hold of us. Our main website is theveteransranch.org. Millions of ways to contact us through there. You can find us on all the socials, and some you probably didn't even know existed. Millions of ways to get a hold of us, and get on our email list. Give us a call and find out when our next events are going on. You know, it's funny you say somebody that's never even been around a horse. As things started opening back up in Florida and we were able to do some trail rides and things like that, we set one up, and we had about 20 vets and some plus ones out there. It was a beautiful day. It was August in Florida, but it was still a beautiful day. And, we pair everybody up. We make sure they're comfortable with the horse. We're going to start really by putting a grooming brush in their hand, work that rhythmic motion of building a bond of trust with an animal is inherently born not to trust anybody. Horses are prey animals, so their fight or flight 99% of the time is flight, because all they can do is bite you or kick you. And as much as that hurts, it's not much of a defense mechanism if something's trying to kill you. So you have to build that bond of trust, but you're doing it without saying a word, right? That horse feels everything you feel, knows everything you know. So we're pairing everybody up, and I had a young airman, active duty, and his wife was medically retired Air Force. And she had ridden dressage for like 20 years, so she was in her element. But all of a sudden, she comes over to me and says, JR, you got to help me out. My husband's freaking out. He's cursing me out. He wants to go home. He's mad. I'm like, he ain't mad. He's scared. Now, again, I'm a proud patriot. I'm one of the 99% that support y'all, the 1% that raised your right hand and said, I'll go send me. So that means I will never, ever speak to anyone like I wore the uniform. I love when y'all rib each other between the branches, but I'm smart enough not to know to dive into that and pick a side, because then you get the whole family against the outsider. So I say all that to say I brought a Marine over with me. Okay. He was a retired Marine, and I've witnessed a lot over the years how Marines just love to make fun of airmen. So he comes walking up to him live, telling him what's going on. I'm like, you got this? He's like, oh, I got this. I'm like, oh, God, what are we going to step into here? He comes up to him, and I got to say it like a Marine would say it. He comes up to him and he goes, what the fuck's wrong with you, airman? You a pussy? You can't get up on a horse? Seriously, you're going to go to Okinawa and you can't get up on a horse? Now, let me clarify the story. We were putting him next to a Belgian. Okay, for anybody out there that doesn't know what a Belgian is, we all know what the Budweiser Clydesdales look like. They're called draft horses. Take a Budweiser Clydesdale, shrink it down just a little bit, and there's a draft horse. Now, I am 6'4". Okay, they measure horses in hands. So, you go 1, 2, and so on. Well, I'm looking at the withers, which is their shoulder, right here, okay, at eye level. This guy's 5'5" with boots on. He's looking at ribs. So he's just breaking him down, uniform to uniform. But he realizes, to not make the situation worse, he starts laughing. We're kidding around. We're like, seriously, dude, what is wrong? And he said, guys, I'm from the Bronx. That's all he had to say. Just stop right there. He said, I'd never seen the mounted patrol in Central Park. I'd never, dogs running through the neighborhood were strays. You want me to get up on this beast? So again, we get him on it, get him comfortable, because his hands go like this and legs go like this. And, we're like, even this gentle giant, you're going to the Kentucky Derby in about 2 minutes, right? So we get him to relax, and all of a sudden the horse, and he's like, what just happened? Said, you relaxed, the horse relaxed. And then he started getting it, taught him how to steer more with his hips and his feet than yanking the head with his hands. Especially on a horse that weighs close to 2,000 pounds, you ain't yanking that horse around too much. It'll do what it wants to do in a hurry if you don't have that control of it. So we get him comfortable. We send him out on the trail ride. He comes back an hour later, He gets off, and we had some Powerade and water and stuff like that for everybody to drink because, again, it was a hot day. And he's just got this shit-eating grin ear to ear on his face. And we just said, how you doing? He goes, walking a little funny. A Belgian's yay wide. I'm 6'4", and if I don't ride one for a while, they make me walk funny. So imagine this guy. But he asked the important question. He said, guys, can I go out on the next ride? His wife was in immediate tears, right? Because went from an hour before cursing somebody out to, can I go out on the next ride? He got it. And we don't break our shoulder patting ourselves on the back. It's the good Lord and the horse that came together that helped this young man through a fear he didn't even realize was a fear. And he could go back out to Okinawa, chest out a little higher, saying, you ain't going to believe what I did, right? And that is just so awesome and therapeutic for us to see that, because we know what the power of a horse is, right? But sometimes it has to be felt. It can't be explained. So it's just so awesome when we get to be able to do that for people.
What a cool story. And when we're talking about that felt experience, I think that it's important for us to also point out the fact that there are so many silent conversations that we have, even just being around a horse. And if that is you, the one who's never ridden a horse before, I would encourage you to just find a way, even if it's not through JR's organization, to be able to just be in the same space as a horse. And, as JR said, like grabbing a brush, and even when I'm out there, like cleaning out the horse stalls, there's something incredibly therapeutic about those silent conversations that can't be explained unless you do experience it. And I know that we have a few more questions here. Somebody wants to know, how long is your program and what is the price?
We do not charge veterans for anything we do. We have a separate division of the nonprofit that we could get into on another conversation. That has a monthly membership fee to it. But when it comes to the horses, we don't charge you a thing. So how long? We might do a one-day event. We could do a weekend event. When we get that piece of dirt that we're, trying to get our hands on, and we have short-term housing on there, it can be up to a year. So get back on your feet, you and the immediate household family. So, you can come on our dime and get whatever it is you need. If it's some spiritual counseling, some regular counseling, some job training. We already show vets how to save money on essential services they pay for every day. A lot of people don't look this stuff up. Your average E4 makes less than a McDonald's manager, and they're getting shot at. And I don't mean the McDonald's manager in a bad neighborhood. They're potentially, signing the blank check to, the joke between the chicken and the pig is the chicken only has to give up the egg. The pig gives up the bacon. And, they're possibly giving up the bacon and doing all that so we can do what we're doing here today. There's no way we're charging them for what we're doing. Also, in that regard, we're only going to hire veterans in their immediate household family. So if you got a DD 214 somewhere in your house, you can be on the payroll. Otherwise, you're going to need to be one of the many volunteers we're going to need as well.
That's awesome. And talking along the lines of volunteer, Michael, you're right. Horses can be incredibly intimidating. And they think the same thing about us until we get to know each other. Can somebody who is interested come and observe your group?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Anytime we have an event going on, if you don't want to participate, you just want to hang out and see what it's all about. Absolutely. We're more than happy to have anybody come out and observe and see what it's all about. Again, am I a professional horse trainer? Absolutely not. But I've learned enough over the years to be country boy certified, know enough what we're doing with the horses. But if you're not learning, you're dead. So, I'm constantly learning from people more advanced than me to bring more things to the programs that we offer. But you'll see real quick how gentle a horse can be. For everybody. Yeah, sure. 18, 19 hands, 2,000 pounds for some of these really big boys. But yeah, you nailed it right on the head. They're as scared of us as we are of them until you build that bond of trust.
Yeah, that's amazing. It makes me excited. I definitely want to come out and see you guys, if at the very least, just to be able to check out what you guys have going on. And I know there's a lot of interest in being able to do the same thing and perhaps to collaborate. So if anybody is interested in collaborating, or they want to know how they can hop on a horse, maybe for the first time, and find that connection for themselves, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Reach out to us at theveteransranch.org, theveteransranch.org. All our contact info's in there, and there's a lot of ways to hit us up from there.
Perfect. And I do have one more selfish question before we wrap this up, because I'm visualizing that notepad still and the chicken scratch of the word ranch on it. And I'm just wondering what the biggest thing that you've learned has been since that moment of waking up in the middle of the night, writing the word ranch down to current day.
You're not in control of a damn thing. That's life in a nutshell. I couldn't have come up with this all on my own. There's just no way. And I've had some pretty humdinger ideas, but there's no way I come up with all this. God's in control of all of it. He's the center of everything we do, guides our steps. Sometimes we just got to open up our hearts and listen, and turn our ears off and open our hearts up. We are so proud of being able to do what we do. We are not any conflict specific organization like some out there. If you're still alive, from Korea, and you're kicking, and you want to work with a horse too, you just transitioned out yesterday. Y'all come out. We're going to have a great time. We're going to have some fun. Yes, what we're dealing with is serious. But when you're trying to end the mission, or have your mission be ending veteran suicide, you got to have a little fun too, because that's a very serious topic.
Perfect. I think that's the perfect way to end this. And thank you for dropping the website down below. I'll put it in the show notes below if you're listening to this on the podcast. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in live this morning. JR, thank you so much for your time. And
my pleasure to be here.
We'll have you on again. I think it would be pretty awesome to do a cross interview with you and your wife, because I'm super curious to hear what her journey has been like during this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?